Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naranam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. Verse number 31. Tata Atmani Lokecha Bhakti Yukta Samahita Drashta Simam Tatam Brahman Mai Lokam Stvam Atmanaha. Tata atmani loke cha bhakti yukta samahitaha drishta simam tatam brahman mai lokam stvam atmanaha. Tata atmani loke cha bhakti yukta samahitaha drashta simam tatam brahman atmanaha. Tata atmani loke cha bhakti yukta samahitaha drashta simam tatam brahman mai lokam stam atmanaha. Tatatmani loke cha bhakti yukta samahitaha drashta simam tatam brahman mai lokam stam atmanaha. Tataha, thereafter, atmani, in yourself, loke, in the universe, cha, also, bhakti yuktaha, being situated in devotional service, samahitaha, being completely absorbed, drashta, asi, you shall see, mam, me, tatam, spread throughout, Brahman, O Brahma, Mai, in me, Lokan, all the universe, Tvam, you, Atmanaha, the living entities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, by Charana Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Brahma, when you are absorbed in devotional service, in the course of your creative activities, you will see me in you and throughout the universe. And you will see that you yourself, the universe, and the living entities are all in me. Purport. It is cited herein by the Lord that during his daytime, Brahma would see him as Lord Krishna, as Lord Sri Krishna. He would appreciate how the Lord expanded himself into all the calves during his childhood at Vrindavan. He would know how Yashodamai saw all the universes and planetary systems within the mouth of Krishna during his playful childhood pastimes. And he would also see that there are many millions of Brahmas during the appearance of Lord Krishna in Brahma's daytime. But all these manifestations of the Lord, appearing everywhere in his eternal, transcendental forms, cannot be understood by anyone but the pure devotees, who are always engaged in devotional service to the Lord and are fully absorbed in the Lord. The high qualifications of Brahma are also indicated herein. O Brahma, when you are absorbed in devotional service in the course of your creative activities, you will see me in you and throughout the universe, and you will see that you yourself, the universe, and the living entities are all in me. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Maha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayati Girinat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. So in this verse, I just noticed Krishna says, "O Brahma, when you are absorbed in devotional service, in the course of your creative activities," so you're absorbed in devotional service, in the course of your creative activities, does it remind you about another verse from Gita? This famous verse where Krishna says the same thing to Arjuna. You have to perform your activities and at the same time be absorbed in devotional service. My arpita manobudir. Mam anusmaram yudhyacha. Yes. Krishna tells Arjuna, you should perform your duties, fighting, and at the same time remember me. And here, Brahma is advised the same thing. Sometimes we are wondering how is this possible to perform our duties and at the same time to remember Krishna. I heard from Sankirtan devotees also. Same thing, and from householder devotees. How is it possible? It's very difficult to remember the Lord while we perform our duties. But the thing is that it is difficult, but how much more difficult it will be to remember the Lord at the time of death? So we should practice now, although it is difficult. So here Brahma is praying for the mercy of the Lord. He is praying humbly that, my Lord, please don't allow me to forget you and to become proud, puffed up. Even the greatest devotees are afraid of Maya. Actually, this might be an indication of of greatness in devotional service. If you're afraid of Maya, you must be advanced. And this is what Srila Prabhupada says. We see also Srila Prabhupada, also, he was praying, he said that he said, now that I got so much followers, so many followers and so much wealth, I always pray to Krishna not to fall down. And this is a sign of humility, of advancement, of realizing our actual position. I can't imagine some materialists to pray in this way. First of all, materialists, they don't pray to God because they don't believe in God. Even if they do, they don't pray for these things. They pray for other things. So for them, it's quite okay to be puffed up. This is their nature and constitutional position. Jai. But devotees, for them, is quite natural to pray like this. And sometimes we wonder when we hear the prayers of these advanced devotees, the great devotees, we're wondering, are they actually just giving us example? Because when we read how Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, how he speaks about himself, he says, everybody who hears my name, I'm so sinful, so fallen that everybody who hears my name will be bereft of his past activities. I'm very low. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he also, in one of his bhajans, Amara Jivan, he says, I'm so fallen. I feel happiness when I see others unhappy. And when I see others' happiness, I feel unhappy, I feel envious. We were wondering how is this sometimes. And the thing is that the great devotees, they are great because one of the reasons, they are recipient of Krishna's mercy, of course, but one of the symptoms is that they have realized how small, very, very extremely small and insignificant is the soul in comparison with Krishna. And so by realizing how small we are, then we become great, paradoxically. So they really feel that they are dependent on any moment on Krishna's mercy. And we tend to forget sometimes. Sometimes we remember. So Brahma, as we heard from Hamsarupa Prabhu yesterday. He had very serious task, very serious devotional service to perform. We can imagine it's so complicated to build even a small thing, small house here in this small insignificant planet. Prabhupada said that this is like 5th grade planet, 5th class planetary. He said demigods would not even come to pass water here in this planet. So here it is so difficult to build small thing, and let alone arranging, managing, and building the whole universe. If something goes wrong, it's heavy consequences. And Brahma was, of course, apprehensive, and he was praying to the Lord. This is actually interesting. If we get a service to perform by our authorities, which we are completely, absolutely feeling that we are unqualified to do this, which is overwhelming, it's above our head. This is actually a good sign, in a sense, because this is what this is how Brahma felt, and this is how Prabhupada felt also when yesterday somebody was quoting Markine Bhagavata Dharma, Tulsi Prabhu and Nathabara Prabhu also. So this feeling of being unqualified is a very good sign. So we should not be afraid and discouraged. Once I got assignment from my authority, I had to write down something. First, I had to write down only the introduction to the Bhakti Shastri course in Mayapur. Schotar Maharaj gave me this service, and then I was already like, he gave me, just for this short introduction, it's supposed to be like 10, 20 pages, something like this. So he gave me 10 books, like there was a stack of books from his personal library. He told me, so you read all those books, and then this is your source material to write down this introduction for the Bhakti Shastri course. And he said, and if you happen, I must say, if you happen to lose one of those books, I'll cut off your head. And I'll kill you. And I was, reading these books, going through them. And then a few days later, he came up and he said, so I decided that you are not going just to write down the introduction, you just write down the whole course, everything. And don't ask too many questions. I don't have much time, for you. I have my own things to do, and just for 3 days I was, and then gradually, just like Krishna explains here to Brahma. Krishna says, he says, I already gave you the intelligence. All these benedictions you're praying for are already granted. I gave them to you. And for that matter, to everybody, to all sincere devotees of the Lord, the benedictions are there. And how do we attain these benedictions practically? By absorption in devotional service. And then they will come naturally. Krishna says, you will see me when you are absorbed in devotional service. In the course of your creative activities, you will see me in you and throughout the universe, and you see that you yourself, the universe, and the living entities are all in me. Perhaps we had this experience in life when we are confused and we don't know what to do. The proper course of activities, of course, is to take shelter, the Lord and the devotees, the spiritual master, the Shastra. So we pray to the Lord, and then it becomes revealed shortly after or a little later. It becomes obvious what we have to do if we are sincere. So this verse reminds us about another verse from Bhagavad Gita. Remember this famous verse from 4th chapter, 34 verse. Everybody, we all familiar with this verse. Tad vidi pranipatena pariparshnena sevaya upadakshanti te gyanam gyanastatva darshinaha. And one have to, if you want to attain this knowledge, you have to approach the spiritual master. And the next verse, which is not so familiar for the devotees in general, in the next verse, Krishna explains what will be the result, and the result is similar to what he explains here. The result of approaching a bona fide guru and serving him and acquiring knowledge from him, Tattvadarshi, person who has seen the truth, is Yat Jatva Napunar Moham Evam Yasyasi Pandava. The result is that you will never fall again into illusion, because you will realize that Yanabhutani Sheshani Drakshyasi Atmani Atomai, that having obtained real knowledge from self-realized soul, from Tattvadarshi, you will never fall again into such illusion, for by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. This is the result of association with Tattvadarshi. You see the reality in the same way as he sees the reality, and the same way as Krishna sees the reality. This is the definition of Krishna consciousness: to see the universe in the same way as the Lord sees the universe. So in other words, we will see that living entities and everything around us is not ours to exploit and to enjoy separately from the Lord. So this is our natural propensity. We have been trained like this, to see around and to look around for opportunities for sense gratification, right? And now we are trying to see and to see service opportunities. That's the opposite. And I don't know, maybe you know, in some musical schools, if you enroll there, they ask you, have you got some musical training? And if you did have already some training, they charge you more, because they have to you have to unlearn what you have learned so far, and it takes time. It's difficult. So we are in the same condition. We learned, we have been trained. It's quite amazing how brainwashed we were zombies, and now we have to learn the reality, and it's difficult, because our samskaras are in general, like unless we are born in Vaishnava family, our samskaras, our impressions are very unfavorable for devotional service. I have to unlearn all these things, have to replace them with good, positive, spiritual samskaras. This is because we cannot blame any. It's easy to blame the society, our parents, our teachers, but actually, this is our responsibility. It's our fault. Krishna Bahirmukh Hana Bhogavanchakare Mayat Nikatasta Mayatare Japatyadare. Yes. Well, Krishna Bahirmukh. Bahirmukh means we turned away from Krishna, our face. Like when you don't want to see, when you're very offended, very puffed up, like people on the street sometimes. They want to see Krishna. So we did the same, and then immediately Maya captured us, and then we developed this false, because if you want to be separate from Krishna, you need false ego. Then we are supplied with all these instruments to forget Krishna. So it's our fault. So Krishna says, you see everything in connection with me. Shrutekshita is the name of Krishna. So we see through sound. It's not so difficult to understand why it is like this, because Brahma, for example, the most intelligent he's not human being, he's not intelligent, the most pious living entity, he was looking around a lot, right? He was looking around and he couldn't figure it out. So let alone the scientists and atheistic scholars, they will never be able to understand. It has been already proven by Brahma. He was the first one to conduct this scientific experiment. He was trying to understand the universe and he failed. And then he attained the mercy of Krishna, and then by Krishna's mercy, he understood. So then we will be able to see, and this sounds like pratyaksha pramana. See, you see something, but we know that seeing is, or any depending on our senses, pratyaksha or anumana, all these pramanas are imperfect, and they are of course useful if they rely on shabda, on spiritual sound. So why then it is said here that you see? Because this is different type of pratyaksha. It is called divya pratyaksha. That means when Krishna is satisfied with our endeavors and he will give us spiritual senses, spiritual vision, then whatever we see is the reality. It's proof by itself. It becomes pramana. It's perfect. Just like the advanced devotees, self-realized devotees, what they see and what they feel, it's reality. It's not like with us, if I say I see or I feel something, it might not be true. But with them, it is truth, it is the absolute reality. Just like when Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was discussing with, I think it was with Draupadi's father, Drupad, the marriage. The Pandavas, they had to marry Draupadi, all of them. And it was not obvious for King Drupada that this was the proper thing to do. He was doubtful. And then Maharaja Yudhishthira told him, when I think about this marriage, my mind doesn't feel that it is improper thing to do. That means it's okay. Because my mind is always spontaneously attracted toward virtue, so it should be okay then. If it's not repulsive for me, it should be okay. And similarly, for Mother Yashoda and for Nanda Maharaj, what is their pramana that Krishna is their son? It's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not Supreme Control. It's just their child, because they feel like this. They feel that he is our son, and that's enough. And that's reality. For us, it's not like this, because we are not on the spiritual platform. We are still battling hard with our, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, with Manashastrani, Indrani, Prakritistani, Karshati, with the 6 senses in the mind. So when we become, as Prabhupada says, agreeable with the purpose of creation, then Krishna will be pleased and he will purify us. And then he will purify our vision and our heart, and we will see and feel the right things. Right now, sometimes we feel, and our feelings are not right. They're actually harmful. The intensity of the feeling doesn't necessarily mean that they're right. I intensely feel that I have to take this rasagula from the plate of Tusi Prabhu. It might not be right. We tend to justify that. Oh, I really want this. The 5 years old, he really feels like driving Maharaj to the airport. Why are you discriminating against him? He has right to feel happy. Why are you saying he cannot drive Maharaj to the airport? That's what he wants to do. So how how are we advancing in Krishna consciousness, how we get this mercy of the Lord, that we can see everything in connection with Him, as we mentioned, through sound, and even materially. When people want to acquire some skill, some knowledge, they have to accept authority. And when this is properly done, then they acquire the required qualification. And then they can actually see. Well, it's not actually, because it's all material field and it's all under the three gunas. But to some extent, they can see better than the people who are untrained. For example, doctors, when they see an X-ray, they see things we don't see. They can say, okay, this is the diagnosis. This is the situation. You have to undergo such and such treatment. Or trained musicians, when they hear music, they hear more things that we can hear. Of course, we can also appreciate the music, even if untrained, but they know, they understand more. They're trained. They can say, well, this is from this and this period, and the composer here made this very nicely, etc., whatever. Or if you're a trained cook, then when you taste preparation, you know. You can appreciate a broader range of data, basically. So even in material field, you have to get trained. And what to speak about. So the paradox is that these people, the materialists, they understand very well the principle when it is applied to the field of sense gratification, but when it comes to transcendent spiritual things, they somehow forget about this principle. They think that they can figure out on their own. You had to go for 5 years in this university to get a degree and to become a high-grade doc, basically, like Shudra, high-class Shudra, and go around and look for a master. But you think you can just understand God and spirituality just like this, just naturally. It's amazing how smart people, intelligent people, they at the same time, they're so stupid. Maya Pakrita Jnana, as Krishna explains. So we have to, so Krishna says we have to be absorbed in devotional service. That means we have to find this type of service which allows us to forget about the phone or the watch. So we're watching, okay, how much more time I have to chant? That means we have to be absorbed in such a way that we forget about time. We have to find this service which is absorbing our consciousness. Can be book distribution, can be kirtan, puja. It should be some direct devotional service. And then we will acquire also taste, because taste comes from absorption. And then by Krishna's mercy, it will become obvious what we should do in life. Anyway, there was something else I wanted to say. Is that to be a materialist is not such an innocent thing that sometimes we think, oh, it's, everybody's like this, so I can also. But actually that means you want to enjoy the property of somebody else. And therefore people don't see God, because the criminal, the thief, there is one person he doesn't want to see, as the owner. Imagine you have your best friend and he's with his wife and you want to enjoy his wife. That's what it sounds. Even the karmists, the materialists, they will say this is appalling, this is terrible. But that's what we have been doing since time immemorial. We want to enjoy Krishna's property. We want to get rid of Krishna and enjoy his energy. That's it. That's the definition of materialism, atheism. So it's not something innocent. And we really have to try hard as possible in this form of life, human form of life, to get rid of this mentality for good, forever. We have to do whatever it takes to surrender to Krishna. Otherwise, the level of consciousness is that we are in this material world, even sometimes as devotees, is really really low. So, keeping this in mind, we should practice very seriously devotion service. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. You want to say something? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask something, but also wanted to say something. Remember one spiritual master, he was giving explanation in one lecture how in the material world looks like that some of the materialists, they are very nice and some are bad. But he was making the point that if you are materialist, it's always bad. And he was giving the example with people that they just go and they squat into the house of someone else while he's away, let's say holiday. And they come, first people they come and they just make complete mess in the place. And then second people come
second set of people
come and they make everything very nice and orderly. And then the owner of the house comes and he's saying, "What are you doing in my house? Just get out of here." And the second set of people are saying, No, you don't know what the reality. Actually, there was much worse people than us. They make a complete mess here, and now we make everything nice after them, so now we can stay here. So this is a nice example of someone who is materialist, but he's a nice person. Yeah, he will try to keep nice care of the atmosphere around us, make everything nice.
The environment.
Yes.
Environment friendly.
But actually what he is doing is, he is living in the house of someone else without accepting his sense of ownership. They don't recognize that everything is property to Krishna. It should be used for the pleasure of Krishna. Rather, they say, well, because we are taking nice care of this place, we have the complete right to enjoy. Because we are taking care of your apartment, we have the complete right to live here. No.
You can kick out these other people who are making mess, but with us, we are good.
Yes. So anyway, that was, I just remember this nice example. If someone is materialist, in other words, if he doesn't accept the authority of Krishna, he is dushkriti. He's someone who does not want to surrender to Krishna. Even if he has so-called good qualities, still he is dushkriti. And I wanted to ask actually two things. First thing is in regard to using our senses, because we are in this world and we are using our senses. So in our situation, to what extent we can have trust or faith in our senses and our mind, because this is with what we are working. We work like maybe we don't perceive the things properly, but everything that we perceive is through our mind, through our senses. So to what extent we can have trust that they are presenting the reality to us?
To the extent we are purified and we have realized our eternal nature, to that extent we can trust our senses and mind. And we should always double check with our authorities. And therefore it is a very appropriate, very good for us if we have close friends in Krishna consciousness, because they will let us know when we deviate. Because sometimes the spiritual master is far away, we don't want, the mind has all excuses, I don't want to disturb him, I don't want to take his time, and maybe we don't feel also very comfortable sharing with our temple president for some reason. So then the only, of course, if we're intelligent, we can read in the Shastra, but it says Guru Sadhan Shastra, doesn't say only Shastra. So therefore, Rupa Goswami explains the Dadati Pratigri Nati Guhya Makiti Prichiti Bhunkte Bhujati Chaiva. That we should have at least few people, close people that we can reveal our mind to, and then we can ask. And these people, they can also correct us when they, even if we don't ask them, they can correct us when because they will see, they will, for sure, the devotees see these things when we are deviating, and they will let us know. So to some extent we can trust, but this has to be always cross-checked with our mentors and authorities. Also, Prabhupada said independently thoughtful. So we should strive for the moment when we are pure enough that, like in the with the example of these devotees, whatever we decide, it will be for Krishna's pleasure, naturally. Whatever we attracted to, it is just different types of devotional service, pure devotional service. Then we can trust ourselves.
So then actually what means Maya in this sense of the word Maya?
It means, it means our wrong conception of reality. The idea that this world is for our pleasure, that we can enjoy here separately from Krishna. This is Maya. Doesn't mean that the world is Maya, it's illusion, just like the Mayavadis say. The material world is Brahman. It is Sarva Kalpidam Brahma. It is just inferior energy of Krishna. But the way we are perceiving this world, this is Maya. Therefore, we are dealing with that matter here. Because the energy of the Lord doesn't want to be conscious. Like when you have to suffer operation, surgery, they put you into such a state that you don't feel anything. So the same way, she doesn't want to deal basically with all these materialistic living entities. They always try to exploit her, and therefore she's unconscious here. Of course, she's conscious in the sense that this is Devi Dam. It is under the protection of Durga. But the material here is unconscious. And when we develop our Krishna consciousness and then we approach Krishna's energy in order to serve the Lord, then Daivi Hesha Gunamani. No, sorry, it's not this verse. Well, this verse also. Daivi Hesha Maya Metam Tarantite. I meant the other verse from Gita about the Mahatmanastamam Parta Daivim Prakritim Mashritika. Then it becomes Daivi Prakriti, Yoga Maya. Because the brahmacharis know, we should know this, that the women are they know whether you're brahmachari or not. They can sense. They have six feeling. They know if somebody wants to exploit them or not. So the same way, material, the energy of the Lord, she knows when we approach her with pure motives or with impure motives, and then she reacts accordingly. For a moment, she can turn from spiritual to material. and vice versa. So this is Maya. Something else. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the Sema devotees. Krishna. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. He was fighting very hard with the. Hare Krishna.